All right, let's talk about something we've probably all seen. A marriage that, from the outside, looks absolutely perfect. The ideal picture of home, happiness, the whole thing. But what happens when behind that picture, there's a story of deep mistrust and betrayal? We're going to unpack exactly how a seemingly perfect marriage can fall apart.
And this quote, this one really just says it all, doesn't it? In our friend's eyes, a model couple. Think about that. That huge, gaping chasm between what everyone sees and what's actually happening behind closed doors. Well, that's really the core of this entire story.
Okay, so let's get into the first part, the facade. Before we see the cracks, we need to understand just how perfect this life looked to everyone else. I mean, check this out. On paper, it's everything you'd think of as a success story, right? We're talking 10 years of marriage, two lovely kids. They were even seen as a model couple by their friends. It just screams stability. But the crazy part, and the really tragic part, is that this was all just a paper-thin surface. So how does a marriage like that start to fall apart? Well, it's usually not one big dramatic event. It's more like a slow, quiet process. Tiny little cracks start to form just under the surface where nobody can see them. And you can really see that slow erosion right here. It's a total domino effect. And it starts with something so many couples can relate to. The husband's work gets more and more intense. And what happens next? Well, they have less time together. And when you're not together, communication starts to get chilly. And the predictable, heartbreaking result of all that, the wife starts to feel incredibly lonely. And here's the thing. It wasn't like she just let this happen. She was actively trying to fix it, to bridge that distance that was growing between them. But every time she reached out, nothing, just silence. I mean, can you imagine how that feels? When you're ignored like that, it just breeds anxiety. And over time, that anxiety starts to morph into suspicion. She knew, deep down, that something was seriously wrong, long before she knew what it was. And that growing suspicion, well, it leads us right here, to the moment a line gets crossed. This is when a professional work relationship turns into something else entirely. So it's really important to try and understand the why here. The affair wasn't just a physical thing. It was actually a symptom of a deeper problem. From the husband's point of view, he was looking for something he felt was missing at home, that emotional connection, that feeling of being seen and validated. And this is pretty much the classic playbook for how these boundaries get blurred. It starts out so innocently, right? Just a connection with someone at work. But then, in that person, he finds the understanding and validation he's craving. That leads to more and more contact, and before you know it, that invisible line between professional and personal, it's just gone. Okay, and now the storm finally hits. All those quiet cracks, all those blurred lines, it was all leading to this moment. The raw, emotional explosion that happens when the truth comes out. This is it. The moment of truth. All those nagging feelings, all that suspicion, it's all confirmed. The affair is out in the open. And that perfect image they had, it's not just cracked anymore. It's completely shattered. There's no putting it back together. And just look at this contrast. It's like you have two people living in two completely different emotional realities under the same roof. On one side, you have the wife. She's dealing with this profound sense of betrayal, anger, sadness, a disappointment so deep it makes her question her own worth. Then, on the other side, you have the husband. He's drowning in guilt, sure, but he's also trying to justify his actions, blaming work, blaming stress, all while desperately hoping he can somehow be forgiven. They might be in the same house, but they are worlds apart. Something this big never just affects the two people involved. It's like a rock thrown into a pond. The ripples spread out. And in this case, those shockwaves hit the most vulnerable people in the family the hardest, their children. And kids, man, they pick up on everything. They could feel that tension in the air long before they had the words for it. And the impact was clear. They started becoming emotionally unstable, either withdrawing completely or acting out and rebelling. They were just stuck, completely powerless, right in the middle of it all. And this is what makes it all so much more tragic. The parents were so wrapped up in their own pain and turmoil that they just couldn't give their kids the stability and care they desperately needed. Think about that. The very people who are supposed to be your safe harbor, they became the storm. Wow. I mean, this quote from the source just hits so hard. The whole family seemed trapped in a cold vortex. What a chilling image, right? It perfectly captures that feeling of being stuck, just spinning and spinning in this cold, broken place where all the warmth and love has just been sucked out.
So this really leaves us with the big, lingering question, doesn't it? After everything is broken and the truth is out, what happens to the foundation of a family? Where do love and responsibility even go from a point like this? There are no simple answers here. There's just the incredibly difficult road of trying to figure out forgiveness and duty and what comes next after a betrayal this deep.